G'day everyone, my name's Keith. I'm your host and this is the Kilted Athlete Podcast. It's nearly that time of the year again, coming towards the end of the year. It's almost December, which means the year will be winding up soon. And this is the time of the year where the New Year's resolutions start coming out. People start deciding what they want to achieve for the new year, setting goals, setting targets, um, and yeah, that's when all the New Year's resolutions come out. So I thought it's time that I did an episode on New Year's resolutions and essentially, are they doomed to fail? Are you setting yourself up for failure before you even start the new year by setting a New Year's resolution? And spoiler alert, the answer is probably yes. And I'll explain this during the episode. So it's not all doom and gloom. I'm not going to say you will fail, but I'll point out the reasons why the New Year's resolution is probably going to fail, and then at the end I'll also offer some better alternatives than set the traditional by some better alternatives than to setting the traditional New Year's resolution. Because it wouldn't be good just for me to say, nah, you're going to fail and then end the podcast at that. I'm going to offer some suggestions to for a better alternative. But before we do so, I just want to say if you're regularly listening to this podcast and you haven't already subscribed, please do so. It helps heaps. I usually do this spiel towards the end of the podcast, but I'm going to change it up a bit this time, and I'm going to do it towards the start. So if you haven't already subscribed, please just hit pause at the moment. Just hit subscribe. If you're driving, don't do it obviously, but whenever you can, hit subscribe on this podcast. It really does help. Rate it, like it, share with your friends, all that good stuff. Please do it. It really does help. So, and now that I've got that out of my system, back to the guts of the podcast. So, New Year's resolutions. We've all done them before. I'm sure you've all done them. If you've been buried under a rock for years, a New Year's resolution is essentially what someone says they're going to do it at the start of the year to set themselves a goal, a target, whatever. It could be like a fitness goal. It could be like saving money. It could be learning a new language. It could be anything. It could be, it's just, things that you might say you want to achieve um, in the year. And look, spoiler alert, most of them don't work. They fail. And for various reasons, which I'll list shortly. You'll probably see people posting on social media a New Year's resolution. In the next year, I'm going to stop doing, I'm going to diet, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to save money, I'm going to do this and that and whatever. And then you'll see the whole new year, new me kind of things. And another thing you'll see a lot of is people kind of blaming the previous year for everything that's going wrong, as if the year itself, the calendar year, is responsible for every bad thing that's happened. So you also see posts saying, "Oh, thank God this year's over. Bring on the new year," because apparently that arbitrary calendar date flips a switch in the universe and everything, becomes good again until the end of that year. And then usually these people say the same thing. Oh, thank God that year's over. Bring on the new year. Yeah. So apparently that arbitrary calendar date is like a magical switch in the universe. It's going to change everything. So suddenly you're going to become more motivated and make things happen. the 31st of December up until then, apparently, you can't do all these things, but then the 1st of January ticks over and suddenly a switch changes in the universe and you become more motivated and more able to do these things. So look, you've probably sensed a bit of a theme here that I'm quite skeptical about that whole new year, new me mentality. So I'm just going to dive into the reasons why your New Year's resolutions are probably going to fail. And the number one reason is you set a date to start this. So by setting that date, you've already created your first excuse. When when someone says to me, I want to start something on the 1st of January, I say to them, why don't you start now? It's the end of November at the moment. Why can't you start that now instead of waiting until the 1st of January? Because essentially it's an excuse. You've created your first excuse before you've even started. There could be a couple of reasons, legitimate reasons why you can't start immediately. So if your goal is to save $50 per pay out of your pay, each time you get paid, put into savings, you're obviously going to need to wait until your next payday before you can start that. So, that's a legitimate reason. But saying you're going to start it, you know, further down the track, that then becomes an excuse, not a reason. So there might be a couple of legitimate reasons why you can't start immediately, but by setting an arbitrary date, a month, 2 months, whatever down the track, um, ask yourself, why can't I start this straight away? If there's no legitimate reason why you can't start it straight away, all you've done is created an excuse. If I say, right, I'm going to start going to the gym 3 days a week, starting the 1st of January, and it's only like, what's the date today? The 29th of November. So I've still got a whole month where I've created an excuse not to do this. So yeah, setting a date to start is setting your first excuse. Now, some of you know what, saying, hang on, like back, you said, in one of your first episodes when talking about SMART goals, that your goal needs to be time bound. Yes, it does. Your goal needs to be time bound to achieve the goal. It doesn't, not to start the goal, not to start. It needs to be time bound to achieve the goal. But, setting that date in the future to start, to begin, is creating your very first excuse before you've even got started. All right, number two reason why most New Year's resolutions fail is because most people have the all or nothing mentality with these. Now, all or nothing seems to be one of those wank words or wank phrases that get thrown around to make people sound like, big, so it's like I'm an all or nothing person. But the reality is, an all or nothing person, you're basically saying if I can't do it all, I'm going to be nothing. I'm going to do nothing. So essentially you've created another excuse, because if you fail slightly, you revert back to nothing. I know quite a few people who start a savings plan, who start a savings goal, and for some reason, something's come up and they've had to dip into those savings for something, just a part of the savings. So they might have saved up, they might be planning to save up $10,000. They're halfway there, saved up $5,000. Something's happened. They've had to, the emergency or something's come up, they've had to spend $1,000 of that, and because they've done that, they go, well, I failed, I can't save anymore, so they spend the $400, the $4,000 left. So they've gone all or nothing. Um, there's been a setback, so they've thrown their hands up in the air and gone and spent, everything. So they're back to scratch again. Quite often, some of these goals are unrealistic. So if um if I said, I'm never going to eat chocolate again from the 1st of January, I'm never going to eat chocolate again. Now, my wife can tell you, anyone that I work with can tell you that's not going to work for me. Um, I'm not never going to eat chocolate again. So by setting myself that unrealistic goal starting the 1st of January, never to eat chocolate again, I know it's going to fail. Anyone that knows me knows it's going to fail. So if I go a week without touching a chocolate and then I have a Tim Tam, it's like, do I revert then to the nothing mentality? I've failed. I've had one Tim Tam, so therefore I may as well just eat all the chocolate I can find. The all or nothing mentality is doomed to failure. And once again, you set an excuse. You're actually writing a clause at the bottom saying, if I fail even in the slightest way, I'm going to give up on this. Usually they're quite drastic, like me saying I'm going to give up on chocolate. You might say, all right, I'm going to start running every day. And then you run for the first week, and then the next week you're obviously exhausted and tired and sore because you've run for a whole week where you probably haven't run, since you left school, and now you start running every day. A week later, your body's telling you this is ridiculous. You're sore, you might be injured. So then what happens? You stop, you revert back to the nothing option because you've only given yourself two options there, all or nothing. So, the all or nothing mentality is doomed to failure. The next one, why you're probably doomed to failure is that, and I did briefly mention it in the last one, is that most New Year's resolutions are very drastic. They're not small changes. They're huge. They're like, I'm giving up chocolate. I'm running every day. I'm going to the gym 5 days a week when you probably haven't been to the gym for 3 years. I'm going to save 30% of my wages every payday. I'm going to give up beer. Whatever they're big drastic changes from what you're usually doing. So combine that with the last one I said, where the all or nothing mentality. The slightest deviation from that, and then you revert to the nothing. Um, there's no like fudge factor built into that. You've just set these drastic changes, and haven't built in any fudge factor. Haven't allowed yourself any fudge factor. You've spooked out to everyone that you're an all or nothing person and you're going to make this happen. And the reality is you've gone too drastic. It's not working. And then you feel that you've failed, so you revert back to nothing. So those two, all or nothing mentality and the going too drastic, kind of work hand in hand. So the next reason why most New Year's resolutions don't work is that people don't have a plan. They have an idea, they have a goal, but they don't have a plan. If I say I'm going to save 30% of my wages every payday, I'm going to put that into savings. That's a good dream, but is it realistic? How am I going to make that happen? because if I sit down and crunch the numbers, by the time I factor in all my bills, where is that money going to come from? So I need to have a plan to make this happen. I need to plan to firstly to find out whether it's realistic, because it's a good number to say. 30% of my wages are going into savings. That might sound good, but where's the money coming from? What am I going to cut out of my budget? And I've already mentioned I'm probably not going to be cutting chocolate out of my budget. So where's that extra money going to come from? Um, I'm going to, run 3 days a week. Where is that going to fit into your day? Are you going to get up early in the day and do it? Are you going to, come home and then set aside a set period before do whatever else? So, how's it going to affect your family, your home? Um, all these things, how are you actually going to make this work? Because just plucking like a goal, a dream, a wish, whatever, without really having a plan of how you're going to make it work, it's not going to work. It's just pie in the sky stuff. Yeah. So number 4 is no plan. People fail because they don't have a plan. And the last one I would talk about is discipline. So people quite often lack the discipline. Now I want to talk briefly about the difference between discipline and motivation. So a lot of us are motivated, but some of us don't have the discipline to convert that motivation into reality. So let's look at an example. If I decide today that I'm going to get up early tomorrow morning and go for a run. So that's me being motivated. I've thought, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm highly motivated. I want to do it. I'm going to get up early in the morning, and go for a run. So I set the alarm. My motivation causes me to set the alarm to plan to go for this run in the morning. Tomorrow morning the alarm goes off, and I think, oh, I just want to sleep in. It's Saturday morning. I just want to sleep in. The discipline is what gets me out of bed. The discipline is what stops me from turning that alarm off and going back to sleep. Not the motivation, the discipline. The motivation comes up with the idea. The discipline makes it happen. So it's one thing to have motivation. You can be sitting there watching a Rocky movie and see the montage, and they're very highly motivating. You watch that, hear that Rocky music, and see Stallone out there going through all the running and doing sit-ups and punching things, and it's quite highly motivating. You might think, right, tomorrow morning I'm going to start that. I'm going to start my Rocky training, and then the alarm goes off, and you've got kind of two options there, and it all comes down to discipline, because the alarm goes off, you want to go back to sleep, you want to turn the alarm off, go back to sleep. You can do that, or you can hop out of bed, you can get up, you can hopefully not like chug some raw eggs back like Rocky does in the movie. That's probably not a good idea, but get up and go for that run and start that exercise regime. It's a discipline that's going to make that happen in the morning. The motivation is going to say, yeah, it's going to, give you that inspiration. It's going to help you to come up with a goal and a plan. That's all the motivation. It's a discipline that's going to make it a reality. So, and where I'm going with this is a lot of people don't have the discipline to make this a reality. So factor in, drastic changes. If you've been undisciplined, all the previous year, haven't done all the previous year, what's suddenly going to change on the 1st of January to make you suddenly a disciplined person to make this happen? Add to all that the fact that New Year's Day is coming off probably some of the most undisciplined time of the year. Think you've got Christmas, you've got New Year's, there's lots of family there, lots of lollies, lots of chocolate, lots of beer and wine and all the stuff, that you love. I'm not saying don't touch any of that, but I will do a podcast before the end of the year, before Christmas, about kind of dealing with that stuff, how to enjoy yourself like over that period without, going ridiculous. But you are coming off a time of the year where you have probably indulged a bit with Christmas and New Year. And look, if you're one of my American friends out there listening, I think Thanksgiving is thrown in there sometime. I don't know a lot about Thanksgiving, but I think it's somewhere around this time of the year. So you've kind of got that, and then you've got Christmas and New Year, and even Christmas time, you've got many different Christmas parties that you're probably attending for work and other social functions. So it's not just the Christmas and New Year's Day, but also all those functions starting about now. They seem to go all the way through December. I know I've got several things happening in the next month, Christmas orientated, so there probably will be not really overindulging, but a little bit less disciplined dietary wise. And also you've got the time factor where your family's over, so you can't be spending lots of time doing things that you're usually doing. You might be traveling, your routine's thrown out a bit. So all these things are factoring in. So you come from that to suddenly it's like throwing in a drastic change at the start of the year where you've decided to make some drastic changes. You haven't been disciplined. Suddenly you're expecting to make this happen, and it's a good chance it won't happen, or it'll happen for about a week or two and then drop off. So anyway, they're my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons why your New Year's resolution probably will fail. And by setting New Year's resolutions, you're probably setting yourself up for failure. But as I mentioned, it's not all doom and gloom, because I am going to offer some alternatives to the New Year, to the traditional New Year's resolution. So the first alternative is to start now, or as soon as possible. Don't wait for the arbitrary date. Don't expect there to be a changeover in your way of thinking, in your discipline, in the way the universe aligns on the 1st of January. Start now. Just make it happen. If you don't start now, chances of starting in the future become lower. So just start. Start whenever. Start as soon as possible. Make it happen. Don't create that excuse right from the start that you're going to start at some date in the future, whether that's New Year's Day or whether it's any other arbitrary date during the year. Just start now. The second big one is be realistic. Don't set yourself an unrealistic expectation. Once again, going back to the chocolate, I'm going to give up chocolate on the 1st of January. If I said that to my wife, she'd laugh at me, because it's not that she's being negative, she's being realistic. I enjoy chocolate. it's not going to happen. I'm not going to set an unrealistic expectation that I am going to give up chocolate because at the end of the day, even if I go a week without having any chocolate, I'm going to I'm I'm just going to end up having chocolate at some stage. So don't go for that all or nothing um, mentality. Be realistic about it. You know, I'm going to put all this money into my savings every week, and then you have no money to enjoy your life. Is that realistic? Um, you might have worked it out on paper that these are where all my bills are, so I'm going to put the rest into savings. But then you haven't left yourself anything in there to, buy a coffee or, enjoy yourself, buy a treat or something, buy a new shirt or something like that. So you've left yourself no kind of like fudge factor there, which is a bit unrealistic. So be realistic, ditch the all or nothing mentality. It might sound good on your Facebook profile. I'm an all or nothing person, but reality is you're creating that excuse. So yeah, come up with a realistic goal. The third one is to have a plan. Obviously, without the plan, it's not going to happen. If it's financial, what is your plan for saving that money? What is your plan for saving $100 out of your pay each week? What is your plan for, running 20 kilometers a week? Whatever the goal is, what is the plan to get there? Because without the plan, it's just pie in the sky stuff. Number three, I think we're up to number three, is build a routine. Incorporate your plan into your routine. Make it a habit. So make these things something that you do. If you're planning to eat healthier, eat a healthier breakfast, you might have your breakfast might be your issue. You don't have breakfast, and then towards the end of the day, towards the middle of the morning, you're kind of like getting hungry. So then you hook into the chocolates and all, the not so good stuff. And to counter that, your plan might be to eat a healthy breakfast anymore every morning. So mate, so you've made the plan, you've assessed the problem, you've set the goal to eat the healthy breakfast. You're not waiting until the 1st of January, you're doing it tomorrow. Um, you've set the plan to make that breakfast every morning. You then need to build that into your routine. So when you get up in the morning, um, you know, go and start making the breakfast. Make it routine, make it habit. And the last one is to become disciplined. Don't just rely on motivation. Um, Build discipline. And discipline is something that can be built through practice. You're not just either born disciplined or undisciplined. Only you can really instill that self-discipline in yourself. Um, you know, um, Not many people have someone to throw them out of bed at 5:30 in the morning. It's usually something that you have to do yourself. Um, so don't rely on motivation. Be disciplined. Um, if I relied on motivation for all the things that I did, and I think I'm a motivated person, but if I relied on motivation, a lot of the stuff, probably 70% of the time, I would just not go to the gym or not go for my run because the reality is I finish work, I've had a long day, and going to a gym or going for that run after work, um, I might be motivated in the morning to do it, but that motivation wanes after you've had a long day. So it's a discipline that's going to kick in and make me do it. So Um, I might be motivated to save $100 out of my pay each week, and then when it comes down to it, I see something online that I want to buy that I don't really need. Um, the discipline is what is going to make the difference between me saving that money or me spending that money on some silly thing that I found online. So motivation will get you started, but discipline is going to keep you consistent. So just to rehash that, um, some solid alternatives to the new traditional New Year's resolution. So number one, um, start now. Don't wait for an arbitrary date. Don't wait for that magical um, new year to kick in. Just start now. Number two is be realistic. Ditch the all or nothing mentality. Um, be realistic. Don't set drastic goals that are probably unachievable. Just be realistic about it, and be flexible as well. So if you have a little bit of a failing, um, if you don't save the money that week, if you have to dip into um, your savings one week for some reason, if you don't get up and go for that run one morning, don't revert to the nothing mentality. So build in some fudge factor there. Um, have a plan. Don't go into this without a plan. Have a plan. Um, build it into your routine. Make this a routine, so the less that you have to think about it, make it a habit, the better you're going to be at sticking to this. And be disciplined. Don't just rely on motivation. Be disciplined about making this happen. So there you go, guys. That's it. That's my reasons why I don't think you should be making New Year's resolutions, and my alternative to making a New Year's resolution. So hope you enjoyed. Thanks for your listening, and yeah, that's it, guys. So I will talk to you next time. See you later.